do you deal with your parents trying to choose a career for you? How do you deal with your parents trying to tell you how to live your life? How do you deal with your parents trying to do what I call living their failed dreams through you? There is a thin line between our parents caring for us and wanting to guide us, and them trying to prescribe to us how to live our lives. This is something that a lot of people contend with. This is something that a lot of people deal with. It might be at different levels. It might be to do with marriage, a job, or whatever. But in one way or another, we deal with these situations where our parents are caring for us to a point of actually stopping us from pursuing our own potential and our own dreams. How do you deal with situations like that? That is what we are going to be talking about in this video. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Petronella Mnenja. I'm an author, I'm a consultant, I'm a speaker. And if you're watching me for the first time, I have a book called From Gogo to Oxford, The Girl Who Dared to Dream, that is available on Amazon. Please do get a copy. And I'm happy to announce that I've completed my second book. It's going through the editing process and stuff like that. And very soon it will be available again on Amazon, and then I'll make sure that copies are available in Zimbabwe. So welcome to my channel. On this channel, we talk about all things life. I tell you about the things that I've learned. I tell you about the things that I've studied, the things that I've experienced, and we just talk about everything. And if you're new to my channel and you noticed that last week the video that I posted was a sermon, I was asked to preach at church and I preached, and then I thought, you know what? Let me just upload the video. Maybe there's someone who might listen to it and learn something or whatever. But I'm also a preacher, so it is what it is. So welcome to today's video, where we are going to talk about how to deal with parental expectations. How do you deal with your parents wanting you to be someone that you're not? There is this phenomenon that I call parents trying to live their failed dreams through us. And I call it this way because I have seen so many parents who they wanted to be doctors, they wanted to be lawyers, they wanted to be this profession, but for some reason they couldn't do it. It could be financial reasons, it could be they didn't have the resources. And then when they give birth to their children, they're expecting their children to do what they couldn't do. And oftentimes it becomes this thing of, I couldn't do it, so my child has to do it. And I feel like so many fights and so many divisions happen between parents and children when this happens, because the child feels like my parents are trying to force me into doing something that I don't want. While the parent feels that the child is being ungrateful, they're just trying to show them a right path. And oftentimes a lot is lost in miscommunication and stuff like that. And I think there are ways that you can think about it that can help you understand and that can help you navigate stuff like that. And I think dealing with your parents' expectations is something that doesn't end. You will deal with your parents' expectations when you're in primary school, when you're in secondary school, when you're at university, when you're at the age to get married, when you get married, when you have your own kids and you're trying to raise your kids the way you want and your parents are suggesting something. So I think there will always be this thing of needing to have constant conversations about dealing with our parents and what they expect of us. And I think so in this video I'm going to talk about a few things that you should consider, that you should think about as you navigate that relationship with your parents. The first thing that I want you to know is whatever it is that is happening, it is coming from a place of love. I believe that when parents have their children, they want what's best for them. They want to give them the best of what life can offer. And oftentimes if they didn't have certain resources, if they didn't have certain access to certain things, they want to create that for their children. So it's their intentions are loving you. Their intentions are wanting to do what's best for you. Their intentions are trying to give you a life that they could not have. But the problem then comes if you then interpret that act of love as something that is vindictive. They would not actively hurt you. They don't hurt you. They just want to do something that they believe is good for you. So I think if you recognize that whatever that they are doing is coming from a place of love, it will then help you to receive their advice and understand where you're coming from. I think that the principle of looking at people who care for us as people who care for us before we look at what they are saying, before we look at what they are doing. It will help us understand a lot of things. Because if it's clear to you that this person loves me, this person wants what's best for me, this person cares for me, if you know that in your head, if it's clear to you that this person loves you, wants what's best for you, they care for you, they put you first, if you have that clearly in your head, then you can interpret whatever action that they do as contributing to that love and that care and that concern that they have for you. So if you understand that your parents mean well for you, but they may not understand you. And this leads you to the second thing that I need you to understand. The second thing that I need you to think about is your parents often can mentor you to as far as they go. Which is why I think in life, in as much as you should hold your parents in the highest regard, you should consider their advice, you should listen to them. When it comes to certain things like career paths, business and stuff like that, find mentors in people that actually have done stuff in those areas. I did a video on mentorship, by the way. If you want to hear more about it, I will put the link in the description and you can watch what I said about that. So if you want to pursue a career, if you want to pursue a business, if you want to pursue something that is that has to do with your skills and professionalism and stuff like that, you are better placed finding that in a mentor from someone who actually did that. So those, I've talked about two things. Understand that what they are saying is coming from a place of love. This gives you the grace to understand where they are coming from. And if you also understand that they can mentor you in terms of how far they have went, so at some point in their lives, the only thing they can give you is their love and their support and their prayers and continuously believing in you. Because if they try to mentor you in the business or the career path that you are at, they can't give you practical advice that works. They can only love you. So understand these limitations and those things that are constantly present in those conversations. So if you understand that they love you, and if you understand that most probably they can't understand the path that I want to walk because they haven't walked it, it then leads us to the third thing, where you need to be respectful, you need to be calm, and you need to be kind in your communication of your expectations, of your dreams and your goals. And if it helps, actually having that mentor talk to them. Because I realize that there is a long way that you can go with respectful communication, with showing people that you're interested in what they are saying, in showing people that you actually listen to what they tell you. If you can communicate to someone that you are hearing them, that what they are telling you makes sense and is helpful to you, you can achieve a lot of things. So I think if you then understand where they're coming from and understand all these things, then when you are communicating with them, do so respectfully, do so with kindness, do so with clarity. Okay, it's so many times in trying to communicate to them why we don't want to do what they want us to do, or why we are not the people that they want us to become, so much is lost in that translation, because we're doing it from a place of emotions. We're doing it from a place of defending our dreams, defending the person that we want to be, and we just end up becoming unnecessarily harsh, and we end up coming off as disrespectful. And once you disrespect someone in conversation, they're going to get defensive. And once you do that, they're going to become defensive. They're going to not look at you as kindly. They're just going to consider you an enemy, and they shut down and they don't listen to you anymore. So there's a whole lot of things that go into the place of that conversation. I believe that you should have conversations. Sit your parents down, explain to them. My parents, I never really had much of a big deal with this with my parents. I think for a little bit they didn't understand why I was choosing the path that I was choosing. They didn't necessarily disagree with it, but they didn't quite understand, and I had to explain to them why it was important. And when they allowed me to do whatever it is that I wanted to do, I worked hard, I excelled, and I got so good at doing what I actually wanted to do, so much so that they respected me for following that path. So if you communicate to them clearly with respect why it is you want to do what you were doing, I'm certain they'll understand. So communicate your expectations clearly, respectfully, and if possible, invite a mentor or someone who understands the path that you want to walk better to have a conversation with them. And that's sort of like the on the beat of the child. And this is the second half, the second bit of it is for parents. I need parents to remember two things. The first thing that I want parents to remember is your job is not to prescribe. Your job is not to recreate yourself in your children. In as much as you want what's best for them, in as much as you want them to do well, you cannot live your life through them. If you wanted to do something and you couldn't do it, I'm sorry, that wasn't your purpose, that wasn't who you were supposed to be. Do not try to live that failed dream through your children. It's not fair. So guide them, offer them advice, but never prescribe. Your children are their own person. They have their own destiny. They have their own passions, purpose, and pursuits. And if they're not actively harming themselves, if they're not actively doing something that is so ridiculous and that doesn't contribute any value, then support them in what they're doing. I've heard parents say to their children, the degree that you're pursuing is a useless degree. You will never get a job with that. How about you do sort of like these hard skills type of jobs, these types of degrees, that way you are guaranteed a job. And one thing that I always tell the parents is, if you yourself are looking at your child and you're calling the degree that they are studying so silly and stupid and not valuable and not meant to actually bring any value to them. If you are looking at your kid that way, how about the world? If your child works up each day to face the world knowing that my father doesn't believe in what I'm doing, my mother doesn't believe in what I'm doing, they're already starting the fight from a defeated position, because the people that are biologically programmed to love and support them actually don't. So if you then stand and look at your child and doubt them and tell them that they are silly and tell them that they're doing a degree that's useless, you are not equipping them to face a world that's going to be unkind. So you may not understand what they are doing, but if they're consistent at it, if they work hard at it, which you can tell, then believe in the grace of God that gives people this grace to become anomalies. It might be a useless degree as you perceive it, but there's a reason why your child is so passionate about it. It might have something to do with their purpose. It might have something to do with God, and God is in so many cases given people the grace to become anomalous. People have become rich and successful doing things that people don't automatically consider as the best, as most selling and stuff like that. So don't actively stand in the gap of what your child's passion is if you can tell that they're actually working hard at it. And the second thing that I want you to think about is, generally, people are able to live with their own decisions, even the bad ones, than they are with decisions that people help them make. What I mean by this is, if someone makes a decision on their own, if they decide that they're going to do something, they sustain the passion and the energy to keep going, even when things are against them, even when the odds are against them, because it's something that they chose. It's something that they chose. So people generally stand for their decisions. And a good example of this, a classic example of this is, if you've seen people that are in bad relationships. I'm saying bad because that's subjective, what's bad and stuff like that. I won't go into the details. But if you have a friend that's in a bad relationship, and if you tell them this person is not good for you, this person this person this person this, if you keep telling them, they might leave for a day or two, but they will go back. If you tell them and then they will hear what you're saying, and then they'll see what you're saying, and then they'll leave, but then a few days they're back. But then if they get to a point themselves where they're like, okay, this situation is not working at all, there is no growth, it's just antagonistic, I'm just unhappy, I'm just miserable. If they get to that place on their own, I assure you they won't go back. Because people generally stand with their own decisions. So your job is to help your child make decisions that they can stand on, that they value, and that they can defend. Love them, protect them, but also allow them to be their own person. Okay? That's it for me today, guys. This is definitely a contentious one. Tell me what you think. I'm keen to always hear your feedback on these things.